Awake TV. So today, Sue and I want to talk about having a patience, especially when all of us are ascending, and then we can see some of the people, which could be our family member or friends or people around us, are not awaking yet and stuff like that. So, this could be really, really frustrating for some of the starseed or light workers or way shower, especially your partner or someone you love is still deeply sleeping. And then, you feel super frustrated because they are still believing a lot of things when we feel like it's all fake, could be anything. So, what's your point of view about having patience, Sue?
I think that we need to understand that, global perspective, we're all here on a journey of some kind, something our soul or some things that our soul, as our mission, came here to learn. And we're each going to do that in our individual time. So what you were saying, I think, is true. Is it's like once we've jumped a hurdle and we've learned something, or we've really integrated it and we understand it, we got it. It's like we 100% got it, and it makes so much sense to us now that we can never be fooled again. But then we're interacting with people that are still fooled. And we want so desperately, because we love this person, we care about this person, and this is maybe even a really good person that, could deserve a break in life. So we really want to our instinct is to try to push them along, so that they can find the peace that we've just found. And I think that's a natural, for people that have kind hearts and are empathic and all of this stuff. It's a natural feeling to want to push people along. And I have to say, I've done it. I've done it a lot of times. And every time I end up realizing that, not only am I not doing them a favor by pushing, but I'm also not doing myself a favor, because I have this expectation for this person. And what happens when we have expectations? A lot of times we get disappointed. And it's not that we're disappointed in the person, it's just that we're disappointed maybe with our own efforts, or for the fact that we hoped so high, we got our expectations way up there, and then it just didn't happen. And so disappointment is also a natural state of being once we have expectation. So I think in terms of both parties involved, if you don't know what to say, if you don't know what to do, or you have that urge to try and push somebody along when maybe they're not ready, or maybe they're just venting, So I say to myself all the time, just listen, just listen. And if they ask you, if they say to me, what do you think? Or do you think I'm on the right track, or something along that line? What they're asking me for is, okay, I want some feedback. Then I might just, well, it sounds like you're doing all the right things, or it sounds like you really put some thought into this, or you're turning in and looking within, and that's really great. I don't want to put a judgment on what they've just told me. I just try to be encouraging. And so it really is kind of an art form, and it is things that you learn in the counseling field on how to work with people. The active listening, super important, because a lot of times when people are telling you their story, they're also hearing it themselves. And so just getting it out is very therapeutic. It's helpful, because even myself, I've noticed when I hear myself telling a story, and sometimes in the middle of the story, I'll stop and I'll go, oh, I get it, because I've heard myself say something that I needed to hear. And just by someone giving me the space to say these things and listening to me, that active listening has been the best service they could have given me. So there's one thing. And then the other thing is, that broad perspective, that macro perspective of we all come here with our missions and we're all going to reach it in our own time. So that thought gives me patience, and I'm honoring somebody in the highest way by just getting out of the way and letting them do it the way they need to. I may not agree with it, especially it's my own kids. I got to sit back and
Yeah.
go, oh God, I've been there, done that. Got the t-shirt.
Mhm.
Don't really enjoy watching them go through this. However, how did I learn? I went through it,
Yeah.
and I figured it out. And and sometimes they surprise me. Sometimes they get things way faster than I ever did. I'm like, shit, it took me years to figure that out. And this kid's 18 years old and he's got it already, so that's cool. But if we just realize that also we have to have patience with ourselves, you know. Um, I think the times when I've ever compared myself to somebody else's growth, I wasn't doing myself a favor, because then you get into that dynamic where you're sitting there going, well, I'm pretty smart. Why am I not as evolved as that person? Or why doesn't that make sense to me? Or why can't I do it? Like, okay, it makes sense in my head. Why can't I implement it in my life? Well, I just haven't practiced it enough times. And then when I practice it enough times, I will get it and I will have integrated it. And then it'll be like breathing, it'll be easy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, having expectation is not a good idea. That is a thing I've been told by my, I guess, guide. I wasn't sure because at that time I wasn't really having my skills, so the information was coming from the other person. But then guide or higher self didn't sound like too compassionate, so that could come from ego. But the whole point is having expectation is not a good idea, because that is limiting you from the possibilities, like a new creation and the new possibilities, and the believing in the possibility of yourself and the believing in possibility of others. They can do more. Or also, like you said, you could stress yourself out because you have high expectation on yourself, and then if you don't reach something to your goal, until the time you decided, then you get frustrated and you get disappointed. Instead of course, having a goal is really important, but um, having huge expectation on this must be like this, or even like having like an ideal partner or something, and then he has to make this much money and he has to have this height and he has I gotta has to be this much, and all those kind of lists, you know and then of course you could find the person who tick off the list, but is this the best person for you? If
Yeah.
you take out all these boxes, maybe the other person who didn't have as tall height as this person, you say he must be 6 feet, you know this guy could be 5'8", but he has more quality than this guy who check off all of your boxes. So I was being told not having expectation like for so many years, like especially after the awakening. And then I'm not really having any expectations anymore, not being pessimistic. It's just that's different from living at the now moment. Because when you live at the now moment, you will um, you will not having like a huge expectation about anything.
Yeah.
When it comes, you deal with it.
Yeah. And I think patience pays off. And here's why, because, when we have an original thought about something, and it sounds like it should be this way, or this person should be doing this, or why don't they get it? Um, those original thoughts come from ego. like you said, an expectation. But if we have some patience and we, say it's somebody close to us even, and we watch over time how they're doing things, it may not be the way we wanted it to come out or to happen, but and then we can maybe through the patience and observation go, ah, they did it their own way. And obviously, isn't that going to work out better for them? If we just let people do things in their own time and in their own way. Now, I'm not talking about if you're dealing with somebody who is an active drug user, for example, who, is like their life, it looks like a freight train and it's going to hit the wall, and you're really worried about that person. Obviously, that's where interventions come from, or you have a real heart-to-heart talk, a come to Jesus moment with that person. You give it your best effort. It still may not keep them from hitting the wall. So this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the evolution of a person in what we call spirituality or awakeness. I won't say woke because that's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about awareness and higher consciousness.
Yeah.
So, patience for yourself and for other people pays off tremendously, because like you said, Erica, you can stay in the moment, and that's where our power is, first of all. And second of all, it's like a melding of all humanity, because we all start to become compassionate for each other, whatever stage we're at. I was thinking about something that happened with somebody that I know, and I thought, why in the world did he, blah, blah, blah. And then it came to me, it was like, it's just a different level of consciousness. This is not an affront to me. I don't need to be insulted. I don't need to feel that, well, this person doesn't care about me. It's just, it didn't occur to him that this behavior could possibly be offensive or hurt my feelings or whatever. And why are my feelings hurt? Because I had an expectation, right? If I hadn't had the expectation, my feelings wouldn't have been hurt. So like it all just sort of makes sense to me and melds to me in a way that, living in the moment, like you said, really important, but accepting where you are in the moment, accepting where others are in the moment, and, try not to put expectations on yourself and other people goals are different. Goals are something that give us momentum to put our energy and where we want to be. That's not a bad thing. It's tying an expectation to that goal, that it has to be a certain way or in a certain time. I think that's where it becomes sticky.
Yeah. And because when you stop having expectation, then you can like accept the present moment or whatever the person is, like however the person is. And then it's a lot easier to have a patience toward, the person or situation or something, right? I mean, when we have expectation of something has to happen by what time or something like that, then if it doesn't happen or it doesn't seem like not happening, we get super like stressed out about it. And then if it doesn't happen by whatever the time we decided to have an expectation for, and then when it didn't happen, we get super disappointed, right? So there
Yeah.
is that kind of thing like I was told not to have. And then they were saying that was a really big lesson for me to learn. I don't know if I already learned it or not, but I kind of stopped having any expectation. Like I'm not being pessimistic or anything. It's just, but trusting the universe timing or trusting, in general, which is, I guess, my theme for this year, is still in a way challenging, because when you're not seeing anything, the evidence of something is coming, and then you're just, being told to trust.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is you may think you're not seeing big changes, but I don't know if this has happened to you, but this has happened to me where I've had years where I felt absolutely stagnant, but then a couple years later, when I look back on it, I go, wow, I really grew a lot that year. You know what I mean? Like we can't
Mhm,
always
mhm.
see our own growth while it's going on. But then when we get some perspective and we can look back on things and go, oh, I actually did go,
Yeah.
I actually came a long way. And so I mean that patience is the most important thing when it comes to that. I just want to say one more thing about this, which is and we've talked about this before, but I think is so important when it comes to yourself or somebody else and they're not quite you're not or they're not quite getting theirs when you think they should, just hold the highest version of them in your mind because that's creative. Our
Yeah.
beliefs about a person or ourselves, if we can hold that highest version, then we're almost lending them our vision. We're lending them a vision of what we know they can be.
Mhm.
So we may not actually say the words, right? You don't actually have to tell somebody, well, this is where I can see you in 5 years, not like that. You can hold it in your mind and your energetic field and just every time you think about them, it's like a prayer. As you're holding the highest version of them, then you're actually lending them also your energy.
Mm.
But it's in a positive, creative way. It's not in a, like you said, you want to stay away from the pessimism because it's creative either way. Our thoughts and our beliefs about a person, it's creative either way. We're either supporting them or we're not. So
Mhm.
I say, hold the highest version of each person that you know and love and that you want good things to happen for. And I think that helps me have patience.
Mm. That makes sense. Definitely. And like my last tip to say is like that's definitely a must. But when you stop having any expectations, then you don't really have to have a patience as well. Because when you
It's
kind
true.
of like start living as now moment, and then you just gonna take it as is, then you don't need to be patient to anything happen because you have
Ah,
no expectation to at all.
good
But
one.
when that happens, I'll see it. I mean, that's that's a lot like a left brain thinking, but that's not a bad attitude. You know, you have a
No.
hope of something happen. It'd be nice if that happens, but let's see when that happens.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. That's flow, isn't it?
yeah,
I like it.
yeah. Any last tip?
Uh, yeah. Stay in the moment. And like you said, if you're not having the expectation, having goals is good. And it's really always something that I've wanted to have in my life, and I do. And it drives me. But patient, like you said, if you don't have expectations, then you don't need patience.
Yeah,
I like it. It's really good.
yeah, yeah. I guess I did learn my lesson about expectation because I don't really get disappointed too much after I guess years of being told to learn this. So next week soon I will bring more of the interesting topic, and then thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next week, and please share, like, subscribe. Thank you. Bye.
I